Welcome to Virginia Time Travel, your portal to the Commonwealth's past, present, and future. Edgar Cayce was an American psychic who lived from 1877 to 1945. He's sometimes called the father of the New Age movement. In 1925, Cayce moved to Virginia Beach, where he lived until his death. Newspapers of the time hailed him as the miracle man of Virginia Beach. Edgar Cayce's works have inspired millions, and his Association for Research and Enlightenment continues to teach people all over the world. But just who was Edgar Cayce, and what did he teach? Joining us today are Deirdre Aragon and Dr. Kathy Callahan, longtime students of the writings of Edgar Cayce, to explain. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Deirdre, maybe you can give us a little bit about your background, and then you, Kathy, if you would, please.
Absolutely. Well, my background with Edgar Cayce and the work with the Association for Research and Enlightenment actually starts before I was born. I was born into a family that supported and taught those ideals and teachings that Edgar Cayce portrayed in his teachings and through his works that he did. So that's my background into that, and from there I have stemmed into other research about other types of New Age or New Thought teachings and practices, such as the Unity movement and energy healing.
Okay. Kathy?
Yes, I'd like to start with my educational background, which is in anthropology. I have a PhD from Purdue University, and I am actually a captain in the United States Navy, coming up on 30 years of service in my retirement very shortly. I found Edgar Cayce's teachings when I was 14, so that was quite a while back. And it seemed when I read one of his books that he answered a lot of the questions I had, questions about life, about spirituality. And from that point on, I just continued to read and to study. I still say I'm a student of the readings. And I have branched out into other metaphysical teachings as well since that time.
Okay, so it seems like you're very well grounded and very good spokesman for Edgar Cayce's works. Now, I myself have not read any Edgar Cayce, and he may not be well known to our audience, notwithstanding the fact that the association has been down in Virginia Beach for over 80 years, or almost 80 years. So just who was Edgar Cayce?
Edgar Cayce has been referred to as the sleeping prophet. He's probably the best documented psychic of the 20th century. He was born and raised in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and he was a farm boy and of many generations, never went beyond the 8th grade. He was exhibiting what we would call psychic abilities as a child. He could see auras around people. He spoke to his grandfather who had passed. He believed he could see angels and knew of their presence. As a young child, he asked God to give him the ability to help others, especially children. And in hindsight, many believe that was what set him on this particular path. He gave over 14,000 readings from the early 1900s to the time of his death in 1945. Over 9,000 are on holistic health readings. He is also known as the father of the holistic health movement in the United States. The other 4,000 plus readings are on a number of topics such as spirituality, spiritual growth, dreams, meditation, psychic abilities. His association, the ARE, was actually incorporated in 1931, and it has existed since that time. Its mission is to help people to grow spiritually through the study, research, and education, not only of his works, but of other metaphysical teachings.
Did you have anything to add, Deirdre?
Well, I think something that was very important to Edgar Cayce, from having met people that knew him, whether they're family members or people that were associated with him back when he was giving readings, is that he was a healer. And that's really how he always wanted to be remembered, was being able to help people, because that is what he had asked for as a gift from God, that ability. But he really wanted to be a healer. And yes, children were always very important to him, helping the future generations. Throughout his life, he was a Sunday school teacher, which a lot of people don't know about him. And he was actually very grounded and down to earth, enjoyed fishing, and enjoyed life in Virginia Beach back when it was a nice, quiet town. But he was not a clairvoyant in the sense of he wasn't traveling all the time, and of course we didn't have that mass media back then, but that would not have been something that he would have been interested in, because like I said, for him it was more about being of service to others and helping people.
Now, he did 14,000 readings, so when did he begin? As a small child, or was there an epiphany, or how did he actually get started?
He began the readings, I think it was in 1903, and actually one of his sons, Hugh Lynn, had had an accident where his eyes were injured, and so he prayed to God, asking for a means to help his son. And what he ended up doing, I think even without planning, without knowledge, he went into a meditative state. Some people call it a trance. I prefer to call it a meditative state, where his mind left the body and he accessed the universal consciousness, the repository of all knowledge. Some would call it in psychology the collective consciousness, and came back, with information as to how to heal his son and restore his eyesight. And from that point on, he went forward with these types of readings, again, as Deirdre said, to heal those in need.
Now, what is a reading exactly? I mean, is it like a prediction, or is it communicating with people who've passed over, or is it about healing? I'm not entirely sure what you mean by a reading.
No, it is not communicating with those who've passed on. That would be what I think we would call channeling, and he did not do channeling. He himself, his mind, his higher mind, went to the collective consciousness, to the universal mind, to access that information. He would go to the Akashic records, which is the, I want to say the big library in the sky, the spiritual library, where the book of each soul is held, and the history of that soul is written thereon. And he would go there, he would access the book of that particular person, and he would come back with very specific information. For example, if they had an arthritic condition, or if they had tuberculosis. And his physical readings on healing were targeted to that specific person.
Mm-hmm.
But the term, the readings, which is a common term for Cayce-minded people and for those studies, actually refers to where the actual documentation, because he had a staff, family, and people that worked for him, friends. When he would give the reading, he would actually lie down on a couch and he would put himself into this trance where his conscious mind would go and dream, and then his higher self, that part that is in tune with the universal consciousness, would be available for questions. And his wife was generally the one who would ask the questions and say, we have this person here who is having this problem. How do we proceed? How can we help? Along those lines. And so those readings are actually all documented, and they were all transcribed by his secretary by hand, and in their current state, they are available online, so that way it can reach millions of people today.
Mm-hmm. What was his original religious background?
He was Protestant. I think he was Presbyterian, was the church he grew up in. And he very much believed in traditional Christianity. And as Deirdre said, he remained a Sunday school teacher throughout his life. As a young boy, he decided that he wanted to read the Bible one time through for every year of his life. And he did complete that before he died. Mm-hmm. So he had a very traditional Christian upbringing in
So he was
Kentucky.
a practicing Christian,
yes,
throughout his readings and ministry, if you want to call it that, whatever. Do you call it a ministry, or?
No, we don't call it a ministry.
Okay. So the association was set up in the 30s by Edgar Cayce himself, and continues on to this day. And I've driven by it, and I'm sure many others have when they go to Virginia Beach. And I looked on their website recently, and they seem to have a very active program of bringing folks to Virginia Beach. At least it seemed like 5 or 6 a year, major teaching seminars. Can you tell us a little about the ARE, as it's called?
ARE has many programs that are available nationwide and internationally. Very specifically in Virginia Beach, the Conference Center, they have conferences several a month. Conferences range from meditation practices to healing modalities to the teachings of Edgar Cayce and everything in between. They offer guest speakers to come in from time to time. Back in the 70s, there were a lot more international visitors, such as Buddhist monks came from Dar es Salaam to visit with the ARE. And so it's very much a place where like-minded people can come together and feel that they're not alone in their search for answers to the world. And along with that, there are many programs that are available nationwide, such as study groups, where you get together and you read books that are along the New Thought, New Age ideals, or very specifically books from the area itself, and programs in between for everyone, including camps and family programs.
Now, we've used the term New Age quite a bit, but let's define that. What exactly is the New Age movement?
The New Age movement, Deirdre and I were just having a discussion on this as we drove over, and I made the comment that people of my generation, not all of us cared for that term when it was first coined. But I think what it really refers to is alternative thought, all right? Something outside traditional Christianity, outside traditional religious thought. And it's basically metaphysical in nature. And I think New Thought emphasizes the fact of the mind-body connection, okay, which was something that Cayce's readings very much focused on long before there was any scientific evidence of the ability of our minds, our attitudes and emotions to affect our physical condition. But it includes, I think, a whole range of things. I don't care for the New Thought idea because I don't think this is New Thought. These are teachings that have been there for thousands of years. They've just been rediscovered in the last few decades. And I don't know if Deirdre would like to possibly add to that.
For myself, New Age is a term that I heard frequently growing up. I definitely preferred it to its previous terms of, I guess in the 70s, you would find Edgar Cayce in the occult section. So I certainly didn't mind things being changed and moving into New Age. I was always much more comfortable with the term New Thought, which they're very similar. And as Kathy expressed, it's just not that it's new. These teachings have been here for a long time, but that it is another way of seeing things. And the way that New Thought and New Age is that it's a type of practice rather than just having a religion where a person just attends church, say once a week, or it's very removed where they pray to something out here. New Thought and New Age is very practical. It's being along the personalized, I guess, reflection that you have of God in the world is really what that is. So it's taking it and bringing it to yourself and how you project that. So rather than having something that's out here, it's in here. And that's how I see New Age and New Thought.
But now there's no, it hasn't been codified. I mean, there's no one place I can go like the Bible and have it all in one place, right?
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So people really have to kind of find their own way. But the association presents a kind of a smorgasbord, would you say? Would that be a fair?
Yes, the
characterization?
intention of the association was always to be, it wasn't supposed to be a religious practice, wasn't supposed to be a place of worship or church or anything along those lines. It was always supposed to be a foundation or belief structure that you could apply in your daily life and combine with your regular practices, whether they be of Christian faith, Hindu faith or no faith in a existing God whatsoever, but just to be an accompaniment so that way when you did have questions, there was a source to go to. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I would.
So you don't really have to belong to this association in order to learn from it. It's more like a school than a religion. Is that a fair characterization?
Yes,
Yes.
the purpose, as she said, has been always to foster personal growth, spiritual growth. Edgar Cayce was very adamant that a person should keep their religion and continue to practice that. He was accepting of other non-Christian religions because the belief in the readings is very strong that God is one. We may call him God, we may call him Buddha, we may call him Allah, but there is only one source, one power in the universe, and that is the God, the creative spirit.
Now, I have the sense that a great deal of the appeal of the New Age movement is it's very experiential as opposed to faith-based. Would you say that's true, or?
Yes, I could definitely see that being an appeal to people. Like I said earlier, just a simple phrase would be it's very hands-on, such as just certain practices such as meditation, prayer, affirmations where you're repeating daily phrases or just always taking the time throughout the day to acknowledge that presence, as Kathy had mentioned, the one force in the universe that links us all together.
Now, there have been some popular books that folks may be familiar with. The Secret was a very big book a couple of years ago, and it's about the law of attraction and whatnot. So this would fall into that same general type category, would you say, or not?
Yes, it would.
Okay. Now, Deirdre, I know you do some healing modalities, holistic healing. Maybe you could tell us about some of those.
Absolutely. I offer hands-on healing classes and workshops. What I specifically work in is energy healing. And the idea behind that is that energy, we know is a fact that energy runs through everything. It's what makes the world turn, and our bodies are so in tune with energy that it's important to keep that energy healthy. And what I offer are techniques to analyze and feel that energy on a person's body. And that way, if they are having physical ailments, emotional or mental, I can review this energy that's in their body and help them to adjust and repair that energy so that way, essentially, their body is just working properly with its environment and feels better. Also offer a sacred healing meditation, which taps into the idea that love is unconditional and love is all around us. And as for that, I function as a mediator for that, a channel for that unconditional love to come in and heal a person, because so many times people don't feel that they are loved. And the sacred healing meditation allows them to feel that unconditional love that's available to them in the universe.
Now, is this like a gift, or have you learned these techniques along the way, or?
It's a combination. These are techniques that I've learned along the way. I also am a shaman, which is an American Indian healer within my tribe. I am Laguna Pueblo from the New Mexico area, and how that worked out is it's believed that shamans in my tribe, before being born into this life, they choose a path of being a healer, of a spiritual guide. And so it was believed that before I was born, I had chosen this path, and my grandmother and my aunt, they were waiting for me to be born. And I believe they told my mother here, Kathy, that when she was pregnant, that they thought that this was the one they'd been waiting for. And in fact, there are other components to that story which we don't have the time to go into here. However, some of that's covered in one of Kathy's books, her first book that she wrote, Unseen Hands and Unknown Hearts. And that goes into some of that story and more about hands-on healing and the faith of prayer and healing. But for me personally, I made a decision and a commitment prior to being born into this lifetime. And I have come around to accepting that, and then I have that gift to sense energy and to read people is a very basic way of saying it, but to try and help them learn how to heal themselves. And then from there, I've done additional practices such as training with other energy healers and people that offer different holistic modalities.
Kathy, maybe you can tell us a little about some of the books you've written. Now that Deirdre has brought them up, we want to know more.
Deirdre mentioned my first book, which was Unseen Hands and Unknown Hearts. That was published back, I think, in 1995. And it is a story of our experience with Deirdre. When she was 10, she contracted Rye syndrome, which was an extremely fatal disease at the time. She was in a coma for 6 days. We were told she would not survive. And if she did, she would be brain damaged and paralyzed. A prayer network grew up around us across the country of over 2,000 people. And that is the story of that whole experience, how people from all walks of life came together to help heal a little girl. My most recent book is The Medicine Wheel, The Sacred Circle. I draw a lot on my anthropological background for that. The medicine wheel is a traditional Native American way of, I don't want to say astrology, it goes by the moons, the moon under which you were born, the spirit animals which are associated with that. And it is basically a guide to help you understand a little bit more about yourself and to help you as you move forward on your path in life. My last book, published by the ARE, was Multisensory Human. And that is a work that combines some of my background in anthropology, psychology, very heavily on the Edgar Cayce readings, and also other prophecies and some metaphysical teachings. Because I believe that we are moving into a new type of human. We're always evolving. We know that from science. And I think we are developing new capabilities, new mental faculties. Intuition being one of them, which is moving us into a new type of human being eventually.
Now, would you say that everyone has some of these psychic gifts and that they're not just developed, or are some people just very far ahead of the rest of us when they're born?
St. Paul taught us that all have these gifts. We all have a gift of some kind, a talent, an ability, whatever you may want to call it. Some people are more aware of them than others, either because of their upbringing or circumstances. I think we all have these types of abilities. We're just at different levels of exploring them and expressing them.
And can one develop these abilities during one's lifetime, or?
Yes, and there are techniques that can help you, methods and techniques that can help you focus. Dream study is a very simple one that many people are interested in, can understand easily. But you can gain a lot of intuitive or psychic information from your dreams.
Now,
That's one example.
I know you offer classes and whatnot. How can people learn more about what you all do?
Specifically for our healings that I offer, and Kathy does workshops and other events in the area. We have our website, which is noble-minds.com, and that's the best way to learn about what's going on with us personally.
Mm-hmm. And so you offer regularly scheduled classes and whatnot where people can
Yes,
actually
Kathy
learn
has
more.
several events coming up this year, and I offer my hands-on healing services on an appointment basis.
Mm-hmm. So how would you say, as we wrap up here, that Edgar Cayce's teachings are influencing the world today?
I think he taught us the importance of the mind-body connection and how powerful our mind is. And I think he taught us that we are all connected and that we need to look beyond surface differences and understand that we are all souls created by God, despite what outward appearances sometimes tell us.
Do you agree?
I think something that would make Edgar Cayce very happy and pleased to know, I think beyond delighted is how he would feel, is that he's still helping to heal people. People can still go online or can find books to research these readings, and you can look up very specific things, such as psoriasis or sinusitis or all sorts of things, and there will be information on how to heal yourself. And I think that's very important because he always wanted to be a healer.
Now, if there was one thing you wanted folks to take away from this show, what would that be?
Very simply for me, it'd be that we all have the potential to grow spiritually and to learn and to heal ourselves.
And for me, it would be to open your mind to possibilities, even though they may seem a little different from what you've traditionally learned. The more science has explored the universe, the more we know there are so many things out there that we cannot explain. Keep your mind open to possibilities.
Well, thanks very much for joining us and telling us about Edgar Cayce and New Age movement in Virginia. It's been very illuminating. And we want to thank you for joining us. Please visit our website at www.timetravel21.com. We'd love to hear from you at timetravel21@yahoo.com. This show has been brought to you by a generous gift from the Margarita W. and Donald J. Metzger Endowment. Thanks for joining us, and I'll see you next time.